always bring.
We'll put Viv on now, and we'll go back to Cheryl if she can solve them. Yep.
Yeah. Maybe if Cheryl signs in and then signs out and then comes back in, re-entering the meeting might resolve that.
Right.
Where we receive Viv's.
Yep.
Kia ora, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'll just try and get the video off. It's not coming. It's just not moving for some reason. Does that matter? I can't seem to get the little square off. Oh, here we go. That might work now. Better?
We can see you, yes.
Okay, great. All right. Well, kia ora, thank you for the opportunity to present today. Cheryl was going to speak about the funding agreement, which we thought flowed quite nicely onto my topic now, so it's slightly out of order. But we appreciate the opportunity. What I'm going to tackle is actually a very important tenet of the bid operating model, and that is independence. One of the things that our businesses really value is the fact that we can actually stand up on issues that are important to them. We have a constitution, we report to a board elected by our members. And I'll just remind you of a couple of key things that I think are relevant to my presentation. We've got three of our objectives. One of them is to guide the development and advancement of the commercial interests of business people and businesses in the city centre. Another one is to promote the welfare of the business community. And another one is about advocating to the government, local authorities and or persons, corporations or associations for the improvement of amenities, streetscapes, utility. So I think a simple way to describe this is that the bid targeted rate belongs to the bid members. It's collected by council and passed back to those members through our work. So we need to act in the interests of our business community and our members, not in the interests of council if there is a disconnect. And that's an important point for us all. And I'm actually going to illustrate this point with the Queen Street pilot last year. So how did the city, along with the rest of the Auckland City Centre Advisory Board, pilot of Access for Everyone. It was intended to take 12 months from March last year, so due for completion by March this year, which would have allowed the time to do the appropriate work on things like servicing and loading, the curbside and rideshare strategy, and circulation plans for all modes of transport. So they were very, very important things to have done in advance of implementing the pilot. The decision to place the sticks was actually never really approached because there were so few people here in the city centre, and I can tell you right now, there's hardly anyone here, particularly, in that higher alert level when they were implemented. But I'll just picking up on the points that Mark's made. I mean, last year our businesses returned from that level 4 lockdown and level 3 coming back, in a very stressed state, many of them. I mean, they were concerned about their livelihoods, what would happen to their businesses. We'd obviously never seen anything like this. So it was a highly, highly stressful time to the disruption in the street, which was not intended, clearly. Now, we accepted Auckland Transport's promise to take them out when we got back to level 1, and we communicated that with businesses, and people accepted that they were put in. Okay, we didn't have a great explanation as to why that street was more dangerous than other streets, but we accepted it and we got on with the job of supporting them through recovery from that stage of the pandemic. Now, the problem is that council's decision to leave them in has actually seriously of that work, and actually our businesses, because they had genuine concerns about the aesthetics, the safety, the operational functionality, because some of that work I mentioned earlier hadn't been done, and those issues were being raised much more widely than Queen Street businesses. We had feedback from across Auckland, but of course they had to wait for the protracted co-design, and it was protracted partly because of COVID. But finally, we did have to stand up very publicly on this issue because, I mean, the sort of thing that really pushed it over was when the plans were released and they really showed a complete lack of quality planning. I mean, when you couldn't even get to the town hall, a key civic space with a mobility disability. things that were really, really concerning, and we needed to be able to stand up on behalf of our stakeholders because there were a whole lot of things for them that had already been canvassed. But that was kind of a real, in a way, a bit of a death knell to say, well, this is just ridiculous. The quality of planning has not been there. Now, it was our independence that enabled us to stand up for our members on these points. Now, it shouldn't have been necessary. I mean, there's great sadness for us. It shouldn't have been necessary. We supported the pilot. We just wanted it to be done well, as our businesses wanted it. So, you know, that's, I guess, an example of independence. But to summarise what we've heard through the discussions with other bids and with the people on the panel today, Cheryl and Mark, independence is something that the bids feel very strongly about, and so do our members. And I can't stress enough the issue with the timing. There couldn't be a worse timing. It's been an absolute perfect storm in the city centre, as you know, and the issues are certainly being felt in other parts of the city as well. So it's not just us, but it has been a hugely impactful and distressing time. Independence is vital.
Thank you, Viv. Questions from board members?
Yes, Sarah Trotman. I've got 2 questions.
Right.
Thank you so much, Viv. I'm sorry that you've got to be before us when you've probably got very pressing matters for your members to attend to. Look, you don't need to answer this question because I'm really going to put you on the spot, and I do understand the conflict. You talked about that independence, but, you know, given the amount of money that from council, you know, it's very difficult for you to achieve that. But I've spoken to 2 bids within the Waitemata Local Board who have said, and I quote, that they don't bother coming to the Waitemata Local Board to share what they really think because we don't listen, end quote. You've got a great deal of contact with other bids. I wonder if you could share a general feeling, and if that's true, then how can we better engage with bids?
Yeah. Well, I can't speak for others, and I'm not sure who they. What I would say is we would have really welcomed a more supportive opportunity to discuss some of these issues last year. You know, we saw material published, and you know, for us, our role is to stand up for our businesses. We knew the stress and pain they were having, and it would have been enormously helpful to feel we could have come and had a really open conversation. We were seeing things in the media or social media that were actually contrary to the interests of our businesses, and I think it would go a long way if the business needs were really respected and we could have those conversations, because as I said, we weren't at odds on that particular project at the start.
Question, Sarah?
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, Ponsonby Road springs to mind. We could have had the same problem there. But my second question is, what's wrong with the current partnership agreement and the bid policy?
Well, I think we're all scratching our heads. I mean, at the end of the day, we don't know the reason this has suddenly popped up. I mean, we understand that we've asked for some information to give us shed a little bit more light on why it's come up now. But at the end of the day, what we've found is a pretty strong response from the bids about the things that really matter in the current arrangement. So why there's this big drive for change, we're not sure.
Any other board members got questions? If not, I'll move that the Waitemata Local Board thank Viv Beck, Heart of the City, for her tabled presentation and attendance at the meeting. Do I have a seconder?
Alex Bonham.
Second, Alex Bonham. I'll put that. All those in favour say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's carried.